Hello and welcome everyone, I am Madals here doing some exclusive hype for the ESET UK Masters Grand Finals that are coming up in just a couple of days time. So, let me introduce these two players. In top right we do have for Team Axiom, the red Protoss, it is Crank. And his opponent, down in the lower left, the blue Zerd goswser. Now, Crank is the finalist for the event, so this is who we are going to be focusing on this game. The entire purpose of this week is in order for us, the viewers, and me, the caster, to just get a better idea about these finalists, what they've got in store, what their play styles are like, just to know a little bit more about them. I'll be trying to do as many replays from the different finalists as possible, so make sure that you sub to this channel, take a good look back daily when they'll all be coming out, and also check out the TL thread where you can discuss, give your opinions on who could potentially win out of the finalists we've already got, and really who's going to be walking away with a chunk of that £10,000 prize pool. So, PvZ, what can we expect from these two? It's on Howling Peak, so a Forge Fast expansion isn't really viable because you can't wall off at the front and back of your natural at the same time. So the pylon just going to be coming up here. Crank probably going to go for some kind of gateway expand with a bit of pressure on. Meanwhile though, goswser, he can go through his normal build, which should just be a 15 pull, 16 hatch or so. And then he doesn't need to worry about the quick third base due to Crank not being able to fast expand. But he will be looking to take that later on, maybe just get into a bit more defense position, get roaches out slightly sooner, speed slightly sooner, in order to defend off some of the gateway pressure that inevitably could be coming out from Crank. Now, for those of you who don't know how Crank managed to get a spot in the ESET Grand Finals, let me refresh your memory. He was in the Invitational Qualifier number 2, he went 2-0 against Ret, 2-1 against Todd, 3-0 against Hero Marine in a very, very nice series of events, and just really showed us that Axiom was coming out fighting and was definitely in with a solid chance to win this. Crank himself, he's 23, he plays for Team Axiom, he was one of their first players, well not even one of their first, he was their first player after getting a personal sponsorship to MLG from Total Biscuit, and since then he has been a staple cornerstone of the squad. He's put up some impressive results, he's just a cool guy as well, so I am super looking forward to meeting him and seeing what he's got in store for us at the Grand Finals, which are occurring on the 22nd to 25th of March, so make sure you tune in live to see the action unfold, because I can assure you all that it is going to be fairly stunning. Now, the Cybernetics core is on its way down for Crank. He's got the gateway up, walling off there just to make sure that he's fairly safe. The natural has come down though for goswser, which Crank knows about after trying to pro block it, but nothing too unexpected. The gas now on its way down for goswser, just because he knows that his opponent isn't going to be able to take an expansion too quickly without some units, so therefore wants to get out some gas to get either speed or roaches out, mainly to be safe from any early aggression. Crank now taking his expansion, a 1 gate expand, knowing that goswser has gone for that natural base relatively quickly. The Zerglings come up, we'll see a manage to sneak through because the wall off is not complete by any unit, and therefore a full scout will go down for goswser, but nothing he will see in Crank's face should come as too much of a shock. Everything going somewhat as you would expect on this map. The Mothership core has now popped out, and that's an important little milestone for most Protoss players, because once you get that Mothership core, you've got Photon Overcharge once you build up the energy, ready to defend off some aggression. You've got Mass Recall if you decide to be aggressive yourself and don't want to overcommit, and just generally speaking, it gives you a little more oomph, a little more damage output, and it can be very, very nice indeed for making your mid-game transition a bit more comfortable, and you can also focus a bit more on your economy. So Crank right now, he's just creating that wall off with these two gateways, Pylon and Nexus, making sure that all units are funneled around the back of that Nexus so he can just put up a cannon should he need to. Getting more units out, got his second gas. The Stalker now reaching the natural base of goswser, going to start chipping away at those drones as quickly as they can, but a good number of Zerglings come out with no speed done yet though. The Stalker can stumble its way away, trying not to get killed, but once speed finishes in roughly about 30-40 seconds, he will be running into some problems when those Zerglings will be able to surround the poor little Stalker, who very well may die. The first sentry is out, the third, fourth gas being taken now by Crank as well, so what's his transition going to be? He could go for a Stargate, go for some Oracle harassment, he could go also for a robotics facility, Lots of different things he can do. I've also seen some cool plays by Protoss with Blink Stalkers utilising the Mothership Core to harass a third base and just mass recall should they get surrounded. The Stalker is trying to get back. This, unfortunately, speed is now complete and therefore will allow those speedlings to surround the Stalker, but the Stalker dealing some nice damage. The Probe's getting taken out. goswser getting a little bit of damage here, but not too much. Only managing to kill 2 workers in exchange for a lot more Zerglings, so that is not going to be a huge problem for Crank. The worker count 34 to now 48. That's to be expected with the 2 queens injecting. But what goswser desperately needs to be thinking about doing soon is either putting on some pain or taking on a third base, because he's on equal bases with the Protoss, which is never going to be good long term. And I think pain is going to be the option because Lair is done, 4 gas are down, the Hydra Den now starting, and this is a very, very nice composition. A lot of DPS output capable from these Hydraling forces. A Roach-1 could also come down. We'll wait to see if that is going to be the case. The third base also getting added on. So between all of this, the Hydras will wreck all of the gateway units, therefore should mean that goswser is safe because he knows that his opponent's not really teched up yet. So all in all, he should be fairly happy. There is also just the Hallucinated Phoenix running around, getting a good readout. Will see the Hydra Den, which is great. A little bit of scouting information. Sees the Rotor-1, sees the Evolution Chamber as well. And that is just a complete scout out for Axiom's player. The only thing he doesn't know about is the third base, but I'm sure that any second he's going to spot it because a Hallucinated Phoenix flying on down there. goswser probably going to be quite aggressive, getting the Hydra speed upgrade. Therefore, he'll be able to get across that map in next to no time at all with the Hydralisks. Start chipping away, start throwing those spines at all of these sentries and stalkers. But Crank, he's just happy to take up his third base relatively soon. He's knocked down the rock tower to mean that he's a bit safer from the back. We'll probably chuck a pylon or a cannon or something down there just to make sure that he sees if it does fall. But behind this, he's just getting up his Twilight Council and Robotics Facility, teching while expanding, definitely heading towards the late game. And as is goswser at the moment, he's just pumping on quite a few more units, waiting for Muscular Arguments to finish. He's also got the Infestation pick coming down, and that could be either for Swarm Hosts or Infestors. I'm guessing it's going to be Swarm Hosts, just because that adds a lot more, but I love this little play. Crank, he hallucinated 2 Immortals and the Voidway. That is hopefully going to throw goswser off and make him panic a little bit and try and quickly build a bit more defense, thinking his opponents have got up more than he was expecting. But unfortunately for Crank, I think goswser should be able to realize what is happening, because he knows that third base is coming up and knows that if that third base is coming down at that time, there's no way that he could have those Immortals out quite so soon, especially not with a Voidway as well. So that is just all good. We see for the moment the Crank just pulling back, wanting to go out, wanting to try and mess with his opponent a little bit. Enduring Locust is on its way for goswser, so we will be seeing Swarm Host just as expected. Overlord's generating the creeps, combining those two bases together, making sure that there's quick resupplies throughout. The Rock Tower probably gonna get knocked down at some point just to make sure that goswser's extra safe, and with the missile attack upgrades coming, it should be looking all good. Plus 2 weapons already on its way though for the Protoss player. Happily going to be up and running with plus 2 against plus 1. That's a nice little upgrade advantage. Extended Thermal Lance also getting researched. The first Colossus coming out, so that's getting us closer towards the late game. And Crank is just doing an absolutely stunning job of using these Hallucinated Phoenix to get all of the scouting information he could ever hope for, which is just a great thing to see, because he knows he gets an exact read on what his opponent's doing, sees the Swarm Host, sees the Infestation pip researching something, knows what he needs to do. So that should, as a direct result, should get Crank to get a few more observers out, because currently he is only sitting with the 1 and he needs those in order to detect the burrowed Swarm Host to take them out. He may also go for a Stargate in order to get Tempest out. That's a good counteraction to those Swarm Hosts. Could also just get a good number of Colossi out, maybe High Templar with the Storm. Lots of different options, but he's not in a rush, because Swarm Hosts aren't going to be a massive problem until they get over to his side of the map and really start spawning those wave upon wave of Locusts. The Hallucinated Phoenix, they're still coming in. The Spire is on its way down. And where even is that Spire? Let's take a look. It's just in the middle of these 2 bases, but it has been spotted by Crank, so he knows that's coming out as well. Swarm Host Corruptor with some Hydra support is a very strong composition. It pretty much deals with everything a Protoss player can throw at you. And when we look, the goswser actually has a near 50 supply advantage, then actually Cranky could potentially now be in a lot of problems. Need to be very careful. Swarm hosts are massing up, already up to 13 with 5 more on the way. That, for those of you who aren't so good at maths, will take us up to 18 swarm hosts, but still more are getting produced. goswser committing very heavily to this swarm host style of play, which is fine unless of course Crank can shut it down, and then it's going to run into some big problems, because if they're dead, they're not going to be spawning any locusts, and that is going to be a massive issue for you. The double robotics facilities are producing 2 Colossus at a time. We do have the level 3 Protoss ground weapons coming down. That's up against the +1 missile attack with +2 missile attack coming down as well. So an upgrade advantage is there and will be maintained by Crank at the moment. goswser trying to take his 4th base as he's moving forward across the map, getting those corruptors out as well. He's already got 20 swarm hosts. That's very nice. Those hallucinated phoenix, though, still getting a good little read on what could be coming out. The locusts starting their inevitable scurry across the map. goswser is desperate to try and deal some damage. Crank cancelling that pylon at the 4th, because, do you know what? I'm not going to be able to hold that. I need to pull back and deal with these swarm hosts. I'm not sure if Crank was expecting quite so many of them, but of course they are time limited, so all you've got to worry is about goswser moving forward. The Colossi starting to deal some damage. There are 4 out now. The detection is there, so straight away we see those swarm hosts starting to take some damage. And great force fields, absolutely perfect out of Crank there, means that actually none of those locusts are able to close up the distance, and suddenly those Colossi able to deal with locusts so effectively, taking no damage at all there, and just pushing forward for the next wave. Another perfect batch of force fields. The swarm host getting taken out very effectively here. This is brilliant play, but the concern is that there are speedlings coming from behind, trying to get the surround. Corruption going down there from the corruptors onto those Colossi, but with 6 now out, the damage output from those units is absolutely extraordinary. The Stalkers trying to knock down the corruptors as quickly as they can. The Locusts just getting hit backwards in order to minimize the damage that is done by them, but they are coming wave after wave, and that is never fun for anyone, because they are free units, and every time you lose something to a free unit, you've got a problem. But the Observer now is able to grant vision of all those swarmers. More Zerglings coming in. Crank with those Colossi at the back, taking out oh so many of them. He is pushing through this threat, but another wave of Locusts does spawn. The Stalkers forced to blink back for the time being. Only 3 Colossi remain, and the Corruptors dealing a nice bit of damage to them. 2 left, 1 left, and the final Colossus is likely to fall, but a big commitment to those Corruptors. These Stalkers are able to blink forward, start taking out these swarm hosts as quickly as they can. They all go down, and now the Corruptors are free picking. What could goswser have done there to be in a better spot? He could have taken an Overseer with him. Just 1 or 2 Overseers, he could have sniped off the Observer, and with no detection, Crank would not have been able to kill it. But currently, Crank absolutely annihilated that army. He is in such a good spot. He's warping in a lot of Zealots down to the bottom right, and since the Rock Tower hasn't been taken down, we'll be able to just stumble their way straight into the 3rd base of the Zerg and deal an awful lot of damage. Potentially could even kill the hatchery if they focus it, as all of the units up by the 4th base. A couple more swarm hosts on their way out, more Colossus getting built, more Stalkers getting warped in, some Immortals even on their way. But now here we see those Zealots on their way. What are they going to go for? Will it be the drones? Will it be the hatcheries? Who knows? But all I do know is that it's 3 weapon attack upgrades for the Protoss player compared to just 2 missile attack for the Zerg. With the swarm host there, the Locust will put an end to this. Was there much damage done? Not really, but it has opened up the 4th base to Crank, who takes that advantage and just pushes in, knocks out the hatchery, and is now looking very comfortably in a position where he could take a base advantage as long as he's able to secure and hold his own 4th. So this is looking very good for the Protoss player in this situation. goswser really has to break out of the box, but he's still on lair tech. He hasn't got Vipers, he hasn't got the option of getting any Ultras or Broodlords or anything like that. He's just sticking with a Swarm Host Corruptor with Hydra composition, and that could be causing a problem for him, because currently Crank has shown no sign that that's going to be of any difficulty. He's getting his Templar Archives out as well, so he will have the option to get some Archons, but more importantly, some Storms, and those Storms are essential with dealing with a lot of Locusts, because you can kill them very effectively, very quickly, and very easily, and very cheaply, and that is precisely what Crank needs to do. But he's moving forward, he's making sure that he is controlling this map, keeping all of his Colossi together, got a good number of Immortals in there as well, ready to deal with the Roaches. The Observers just getting such a good read, see exactly how many units are all around, but now with the Overseers, we do see that unfortunately the Observer gets taken out. Meanwhile, some Locusts engaging in the middle of the map. Anything the Locusts kill is free, very cost effective, and that's really why it's a shock to see the goswser has lost so much more than Crank. His force fields were just so great dealing with this, but with no sentries out on the field, there'll be any brilliant force fields to save him this time, and is having to just fight back the Locust to minimize the damage. And Zealots warping in yet again to goswser's third base. A couple of roaches doing their best to try and kite them back, minimize the damage taken, but the Swarm Host in a great position. Crank is going to struggle to push into this, all while the Locusts are coming out. But with Storm on its way with a +1 shields upgrade on its way out as well, Crank, he is going to be able to just keep going. He's trying to arc around the side as well. Where are the Locusts going to go? Is he just going to ignore those Locusts and those Swarm Hosts? He very well could and just go instead straight for the third base. The Zealot's still doing a nice amount of damage. 3 apparently just taking a tea break because they do not want to be trying to go in there. But as we see goswser pushing forward, he doesn't seem to know that this force is here. And the fourth base is definitely going to go down. Rapidly trying to pull out. Going to have to re-burrow those Swarm Hosts as quickly as he can. The Observer does get taken out by the Corruptors, and that means that with no detection, the Swarm Hosts will just be able to keep pushing out those Locusts, dealing the damage without anything Crank can do. He does have more Observers coming in. He is moving now towards the third base, and he can escape out the back should he want to, so he's not overcommitting himself here. And if he knocks out this third base, which he almost certainly will now, he is going to be looking very, very comfortable. He's got his own fourth up, so is now definitely firmly a base above his opponent. The worker count is 71 probes to 69 drones. With the main base mined out, it is 3 mining bases to just 2 of the Zerg, and therefore Crank is in an amazing position. The supplies are pretty equal, and Crank does still have to deal with the Swarm Hosts that are there, but he's moving forward. The Swarm Hosts quickly trying to get out some Locusts. Crank pulling back. He can go through another exit route. This map absolutely great from multiple angles, multiple paths that you can escape or attack through, as we're seeing Crank utilize the terrain to his advantage. More Observers are coming out, just trying to get a good read. There's a lot of High Templar here with a lot of energy, so the Storms are starting to hit. The Corruptors taking a lot of damage. goswser having to pull back. If the Overseers are taken out, the Observers will be able to grant vision without getting interrupted. That means that the Colossi can start dealing damage, but with so many Corruptors there, we can see that the Colossi is starting to take a lot of damage, but a small group of Stalkers just trying to take out the Swarm Host before anything else. And with the Archons there as well, it looks like Crank is going to be able to do this, and goswser is pretty broke behind this with only those 2 mining bases. He does not have the money to resupply, and there's the GG. Crank was victorious. So we saw there that even the terribly scary Swarm Host Corruptor composition that Crank has, that goswser has, is no match for Crank at the moment. So he is looking to be very, very strong going into the grand finals. Make sure you tune in live. It is on the 22nd to 25th of March. It is being hosted by Insomnia48. I'll be there casting with Lurlian and Jorasar and a couple of others, so make sure you do check in. And if you want to see some more of the finalists, subscribe to this channel, like this video, and leave a comment what you think. Check out the TL thread as well, because there's going to be more games from me coming up highlighting just who we've got playing come the finals. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'm Madals, and I'll see you very soon.